Officials in Miami say they're trying to make contact with at least 50 people who are supposedly living in an apartment building which collapsed. One person is known to have been killed. The UK has updated its list of countries to which its citizens can travel with having to quarantine on return. Malta, Madeira, the Balearic Islands and several Caribbean nations have been added. The changes come into force on June the 30th, but countries concerned could still enforce quarantine on UK arrivals. More than 750 unmarked graves have been found near a former residential school for Indigenous children in Canada. Astronomers say they've dated the moment the first stars began to shine in the universe, known as the cosmic dawn, to between 250 and 350 million years after the first bang. That's about 13.5 billion years ago.
An Ethiopian military spokesman says no civilians were hit in an airstrike that killed at least 51 people in the Tigray area. U.S. and German officials meet at a Holocaust memorial in Berlin. They agree on efforts to ensure that future generations learn from the World War II genocide. Afghanistan's interior minister visits the northern city of Kunduz, which has been seized by the Taliban. And the United Nations World Food Programme says severe hunger in Madagascar has almost doubled in the last 4 months.
Tokyo is seeing a new rise in infections, and experts are concerned spreading variants could soon make things worse.
There are signs of a resurgence in infections. We must prevent a rapid spread by taking thorough basic measures and curbing people's movements. That's more necessary than ever.
Experts say a new spike could prove to be worse than the New Year's surge when daily tallies topped 2,000. Tokyo reported 570 new cases on Thursday. It's the fifth straight day when week-on-week numbers climbed. The upward trend began as the state of emergency was being lifted. Experts worry the Delta variant could be fueling it. The strain first identified in India is believed to be about twice as transmissible as the original strain, and it's spreading in Tokyo. The upcoming Olympics is also a consideration. Organizers recently opted to allow domestic spectators to fill as many as half the seats in venues. But those rules could change. The chief of the organizing committee made it clear that, depending on the situation, the Tokyo Games could still be held without spectators. The chief of Japan's Imperial Household Agency says Emperor Naruhito is deeply concerned about the coronavirus situation, with less than a month to the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games. The agency's Grand Steward made the comment to reporters. Nishimura Yasuhiko says it appears to him that amid public concern, the emperor is worried that the event could lead to a rise in infections. The emperor is an honorary patron of the Olympic and Paralympic Games. He's poised to attend both opening ceremonies and declare the start of the Games. Nishimura said he wants organizers to take all possible measures to prevent infections. Tokyo 2020 CEO Muto Toshiro responded to the news by saying the committee will do its best to ease public anxiety. Now to Hong Kong, where people are saying goodbye to a paper revered as a beacon of freedom. Authorities say Apple Daily violated the national security law for Hong Kong. Its owner is in prison. Senior staff have been arrested. Its assets are frozen, and now it's signed off. People snaked through downtown streets to buy the pro-democracy paper and show support.
The newspaper that tells the truth is now gone.
The end of Apple Daily means the end of freedom for newspapers.
Others gathered in front of its head office, the site of a raid earlier this month. The latest blow came Wednesday. A lead columnist was arrested over an editorial that called for sanctions on China. 5 executives had already been arrested. Hong Kong's leadership says the paper endangered national security. But the British Foreign Secretary was critical, calling the paper's forced closure a chilling blow to press freedom. Japan's top government spokesperson says it's a big loss.
This move is a big setback for freedom of the press and speech that the people of Hong Kong have enjoyed all these years and which are the basis of democratic and stable development.
Kato said Japan will urge authorities to safeguard rights stipulated in Hong Kong's basic law. Apple Daily's final paper showed its supporters with the headline, "Hong Kongers bid a painful farewell in the rain." It printed 1 million copies, nearly enough for 1 in every 7 people in Hong Kong. The paper's website went offline at midnight. Its final message was one of thanks, saying, "Good luck and goodbye." The United States has expanded a trade blacklist on Chinese goods to include firms that produce materials for solar panels. It cited their involvement in the alleged abuses in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The U.S. Commerce Department suspects the 5 firms were involved in human rights violations against Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. That includes forced labor, detention, and high-tech surveillance. China is the world's largest producer of solar panels. Many nations have relied on the country as they transition to renewable energy. But industry analysts say a large amount of polysilicon used in solar panels comes from Xinjiang. The news follows a January ban on the import of cotton products suspected of being made through forced labor in Xinjiang. A former Philippine president and son of pro-democracy icons has died at the age of 61. Benigno Aquino III led the country through a period of economic prosperity. Aquino served in the House and Senate before following in his mother's footsteps to become president in 2010. Popularly known as Noy Noy, he fought corruption and led the country to a 6% growth in GDP. Aquino also famously brought China to international arbitration over a territorial dispute in the South China Sea. The Hague dismissed China's claims to most of the area. After Aquino's father was assassinated, his mother's People Power uprising led to the toppling of dictator Ferdinand Marcos. His family announced Thursday that Aquino died from renal disease caused by diabetes. Bali is one of Asia's most popular tourist destinations, but these days its hotels, beaches, and sightseeing spots are nearly empty. NHK World's Ito Urara reports on how the coronavirus pandemic is keeping huge numbers of tourists away and the impact that's having on the local economy.
About 6 million foreign visitors used to come to Bali each year, but numbers dropped by around 80% after the Indonesian government imposed entry restrictions on visitors from abroad in March last year. The local tourism industry now targets the wealthy and foreign residents. It's a very select group. Officials at this 500-room 5-star hotel say its occupancy rate has been below 10%.
The airport's international terminal has been shut down for more than a year, and hotels are closed and up for sale. I don't think this has ever happened before.
E. Madetrobat used to handle about 300 customers on a busy day at his shop. But now, only a handful come in. The staff used to number more than 70. Many have taken on side jobs. Those who stayed get by on reduced wages.
I feel like I've died. I want to cry when I see the employees. Some of them have trouble putting food on the table.
In a bid to jumpstart the industry, the government is planning a limited reopening from July to September. People from certain countries will be given access to some designated areas. Widespread vaccination is key to the plan. About 80% of local workers and residents aged 17 or older in 3 areas popular with foreign tourists have had their jobs. A local community representative has handed out vaccination application forms. He has been actively reminding people of the venues and times of their appointments. He believes that all of the eligible residents will be vaccinated by the end of this month.
Foreign tourists wouldn't come back unless we proactively get our shots. We cannot survive here by any other means than tourism.
People on Bali hope the jobs will be an early step towards normalcy. But there's still much more work and waiting ahead before the tourists returning numbers seen in the pre-pandemic years. Ito Urara, NHK World, Bali.
Athletes who will represent Israel at the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics have received some presidential encouragement. About 100 athletes and their coaches gathered to hear from President Reuven Rivlin.
You prove to us that with determination and hard work, it is possible to reach wonderful and incredible sporting achievements and overcome the hardship too.
Baseball player Tal Arel said his team had to make lots of adjustments as the games were postponed for a year due to the pandemic. Paracanoeist Pascal Berkovich said she's glad she can take part after waiting 5 years.
It had been quite difficult to train with all the corona times. I'm going to fight very hard to get the 3rd place, to be on the podium. This is my dream.
Israeli athletes will also compete in other sports, including judo and surfing. They'll start heading to Japan next month. It's time now for a check on world weather. In the western U.S., persistent dry and hot weather has caused wildfires and lowered reservoir water levels. Our meteorologist Sayaka Mori has the details.
Hello there. The western U.S. is once again experiencing dry and scorching hot conditions this year. Reservoirs are drying up. Take a look at this video from Nevada. The drought situation across the western U.S. continues to become worse as water levels in reservoirs hit record low levels. The situation has impacted Lake Mead, which is the body of water created by the Hoover Dam. It's now at 35% capacity. The lake is the largest reservoir in the United States, providing water supply to 25 million people from Los Angeles to San Diego to Las Vegas. With the high temperatures and high water usage, those in the region are concerned about the sustainability of the lake. Now, the whole of the western United States is experiencing at least abnormally dry conditions as of June, and it looks like 50% of them is experiencing exceptional or extreme drought. So we definitely need rainfall, and this is the forecast for the next 3 days. Almost no rain is in sight for the western United States. Not just that, we could see dry thunderstorms. That means lightning without rain, so more wildfires could happen across the western U.S. And temperatures will be climbing up into the weekend. Portland could see 44 degrees. It could be all-time record high for the city. Boise could see the high, could see 41 on Monday. Las Vegas will be boiling hot as well into the weekend and into next week. Moscow is heating up too. We saw June record. It was 34.8 recorded on the day. Hot conditions will continue to persist across the western parts of Russia. 33 in Moscow, and Kyiv will also see 34. Athens at 37 degrees on your Friday. That's it for me. Have a nice day.